Sometimes you will be responsible for finding the mean, but finding the mean of grouped data. And once again, we use a grouped frequency distribution to represent grouped data. Now, sometimes they'll give you a grouped frequency distribution and they say, hey, sir, hey, madam, find the average based on the information below. And to find the mean of a grouped frequency distribution, we're going to use this formula. The sample mean is equal to the sum of your frequency times your midpoint divided by n. And n is the sample size. Now, note here, this says sum of your frequency times your midpoint. You must follow PEMDAS, order of operations, which means you are multiplying first each midpoint and frequency, and then you're going to find the sum before you divide. Now, it says here, for number 2, it seems like these days that students have to work more and more each week to be able to afford the cost of college. For a recent labor survey conducted by the government, there were 78 respondents who were working while attending college. The frequency distribution below summarizes the number of hours worked per week as reported by the respondents. Here is my grouped frequency distribution. Based on the frequency distribution, using the midpoint for each data class, estimate the mean number of hours worked per week by respondents. For your intermediate computations, use 4 more decimal places and round your final answer to 1 decimal place. Now, it says here we must find the midpoint for each class. And I'm going to create a column for that. And also, we know the total frequency. The total of my table is going to be 78. Now, call that midpoint, and we're going to label that as x of m. Now, remember, to find the midpoint, wrong one. To find the midpoint, we did that when we was constructing a frequency polygon. Where's that at? It's right here. We're going to use this formula. The lower limit plus the upper limit divided by 2. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's write it here as well. X of m. The lower class limit, or this lower limit, plus the upper limit divided by 2. Let's find the first midpoint. Now, the first class goes from 26 to 30. So we're going to add those limits, divide by 2. 26 plus 30, then divided by 2. 26 plus 30 is 56. 56 divided by 2 is 28. 28 is the exact middle between 26 and 30. Let's find the next one for 31 to 35. +31 plus 35 divided by 2. That's going to be 66 divided by 2, which is 28. Sorry, 33. My apologies. Get 28 from 33. Let's find one more midpoint. And that's going to be the class from 36 to 40. So 36 plus 40 over 2. 36 plus 40 is 76. 76 divided by 2 is 38. Look at those midpoints. These midpoints, every time I find a new one, is increasing by 5 units. 28 plus 5 is 33. 33 plus 5 is 38. So then 38 plus 5 is going to give me 43. And if I was to prove that, the fourth midpoint, that's the class of 41 plus 45 divided by 2. 41 to 45. 86 divided by 2 is 43. So we know that works. Then the last midpoint, well, the next midpoint will be 48. And then the final midpoint will be 53. So you can find two midpoints, notice the distance between those two midpoints, and then continue that same pattern to find the rest of the midpoints. So we're fine. We found all our midpoints. Now I'm going to scroll back over here and I'm going to clear this section. Now, going back to the formula, the finding the mean of a grouped frequency distribution. It says the sum of your frequency times your midpoint. For me to find the sum of the frequency times the midpoint, we first need to find frequency times midpoint. So let's create another column for frequency times midpoint. F is frequency. So frequency times midpoint. Multiply each frequency and midpoint. 8 times 28. That's 224. Next one is going to be 26 times 33. Now, I want to say 858, but I could be wrong, so I'm not going to guess. Let's multiply. 26 times 33. Ooh, my math is actually good. Okay. 858. 19 times 38. I'm not going to play around with that one too much. I think it's 722. Let's look at 19 times 38. 722. And there are ways that I learned I can use to, memorize. Not memorize, but how to multiply numbers that are large. 12 times 43 is 516. 8 times 48, that is going to be 384. And 5 times 53 is 215. Let's just double check that. 8 times 48. Yep, 384. All right. Now what we're going to do is we found each frequency times midpoint by multiplying. The next part says you want to find the sum of those frequency times those midpoints, which means we are going to add up all of these values. Let's add them. So that's going to be 224 plus 858 plus 722 plus 516 plus 384 plus 215. Make sure that's correct. 224, 722, 516. All right. So that's going to be 2,919. To find the mean, the average, after I find the sum of my frequency times my midpoints, we need to divide that by the total sample size, which is 78. N is 78, according to the formula. So 2,919 divided by 78 equals, take one number after the decimal, that's going to be 37.4. So a total of an estimated average of 37.4 hours a week that college students work. Basically, a full-time job. And that is how you find the mean of a grouped frequency distribution. Zoom out so you can see the entire picture. That's how we find the midpoints. All right, class. That's it for this section. Hope it made sense. Hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you soon. Take care.